very quickly.
So
Transcorp Group is one of Nigeria's leading conglomerates with investments
and like
in
I
power,
said earlier, indeed, you cannot
and energy
achieve
sectors.
any sustainable
For the first
transformation
half of the
until you fix
financial
the
year,
power
which
sector.
ended June 30,
And this is what led us 10 years
the group
ago
recorded
to
a 46% growth in revenue,
bid round
surging
privatization
62.9 billion in
of the power
H1
sector.
2022 to
And if you recall
18.1
as well, at
billion
that time,
the
there
first
was a
6
lot of
months of the
focus on
current year.
generation.
This
Now, as the
represents a
industrialists that we
31%
are, the
growth
nation
year on
builders
year
that
in
we
its
are, that we
financial report
represent,
found with the Nigerian Exchange. The company recorded a 39% growth in profit before tax, 18.5 billion naira in 2023 compared to 13.4 billion naira reported in the previous year. Now, with me on the show live via Zoom to talk about all of this is the President, Group Chief Executive Officer of Transcorp Group, Dr. Owen Omogiafo. It's good to have you on the program. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Toulouse. I'm glad to be here.
I want to congratulate you first for your award, All Africa's Business Woman of the Year by African Financial Service Company. Yes, an ABSA group and all of that. How does this make you feel? Many will say this will definitely spur you to do more. Let's start on that note.
Thank you very much, Tolu. Indeed, when one gets these awards, because totally unexpected, it's some sort of endorsement. It does encourage you to do more. It makes you recognize that, look, what we're doing is not going unnoticed. But even beyond that, it also reaffirms the strength of the brand we're building, and that is the strength of Transnational Corporation PLC, because it's about the company, and I represent the company, which is Transcorp. So thank you so much, Tolu.
Great. Now let's get to business. Transcorp recently released some impressive numbers, I must say, in its 2023 half-year results. Now, I'd like to ask, let's start this conversation this way. How do you interpret these numbers as it reflects, as a reflection of your strategy?
So in Transcorp, first, we are patient investors, and we are driven by our investment philosophy of Afrocapitalism. We recognize that for Africa to truly be transformed, you have to have the patience, you have to have the resilience, and you have to invest in sectors that are catalytic to the growth of the nation. Following on that, we also strongly believe that when you have a focus on value, rent would follow. So like you mentioned earlier, today Transcorp has investments in power, hospitality, and energy. You will recall that in 2020, the world was ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic that affected everyone. Our hospitality business was severely impacted by it, and occupancy dropped to an all-time low of 5%. But understanding that we are resilient and we care for the long haul, we continue to drive our strategy of innovation, our strategy of value creation, our strategy of operational efficiency and customer excellence above every other thing. And of course, our people are right there in the heart of it. In power, driving the sense again of optimizing the investments that we have. Looking at the developments that we saw in the power sector in the past few years, we were spurred. And indeed, we engage other investors to say, look, there's no way we can transform the Nigerian economy. We can transform the African economy until we fix the issues of power in Nigeria. And that led us to do further investments in our power business. First, of course, with the additional acquisition of Afam Power Genco in late 2020 into the first quarter of 2021, which we have continued to operate. And then even with our existing investment, which is the Transcorp Power Uheli in Delta State, we also did further investments to increase our available capacity. So working with that, and despite the challenges that existed in the first half of the year, especially as it relates to gas availability, noting that about 79% of the power in Nigeria is gas-fired, we were still able to optimize the assets that we have and be able to translate it to a revenue. And speaking still on the challenging microsystem that we have seen this year, I mean, we've seen things around the MPC rates, we've seen the unification of the foreign exchange, the petroleum subsidy, which has created, of course, understandably in the short term, challenges for organizations. But you see, what we've done is following that our strategy we've always had of your long-term players, decisions that you are making today, think long-term. We've been able to translate that strategy into the results that you have seen today. And I'll pick one, especially in the hospitality business. Way back 7 years ago or more, even before I became a C member of Transcorp Group, the board of Transcorp Hotel had been pursuing an import substitution strategy. And today, here we are. We've been able to push down our imports, working with local vendors, driving a backward integration strategy. And now we have a business that is operating and is not as exposed to FX losses as you would find. So these are just some of the strategies that we've operated. And again, you can see it in the results that are coming up. Thank you, Tolu.
Great. Nigeria's power sector has been plagued by numbers of issues, of course, because you touched on that. Discos in particular, issues with payments, of course, these cost-reflective tariffs and all, prepaid meters, billings and all. But in spite of that, Transcorp and, of course, you led a consortium and you've come together to make this investment in the distribution sector. What does it mean for your strategy as a group? I mean, your new acquisition, AEDC, and its areas of coverage.
So Transcorp's purpose is improving life and transforming Africa. And like I said earlier, indeed, you cannot achieve any sustainable transformation until you fix the power sector. And this is what led us 10 years ago to participate in the first bid round privatization of the power sector. And if you recall as well, at that time, there was a lot of focus on generation. Now, as the industrialists that we are, the nation builders that we are, that we represent, Afro-capitalists, we had looked at it and said, okay, since generation is the issue, we will pitch our tent in generation. And we've done very well in there, if I may say so. Of course, earlier this year, Transcorp Power Limited received the certificate of discharge from further post-privatization monitoring from the National Council on Privatization, indicating that it had met and indeed surpassed expectations of the council. But as the years had evolved, you will see that while we had improved the generation capacity as a country, we were still seeing that the last mile users, power was still not getting to them in the manner envisaged. So when this opportunity came, and you have people who are interested in Nigeria, organizations, individuals who understand that we must fix the power sector, and the opportunity to invest in the distribution company, especially one as uniquely positioned as the Abuja Distribution Company, it was a no-brainer to say, look, this is an opportunity. Let's come in, let's partner with other stakeholders to indeed transform this company and create a sustainable form of access to electricity that can help to transform the environment. And of course, you see, once there's power, you will find that development will build around it. So that's what has led us. And again, because we are in Transcorp, we are driving an integrated energy strategy, power, oil and gas. So we are looking ultimately that even the gas that we use to fire our power system would be somewhat or to a large extent produced from our own field. So this is the end-to-end strategy that we are following in Transcorp. And that's what led us to say, look, if you're going to follow all the way through and you're going to optimize the assets that you have in your generating space, you have to have some play in distribution. And that play, of course, with the latest, some new developments in the power sector, whereby we are also pursuing bilateral engagements with DISCOs, so direct engagement between the generating company and the distribution company. We are pursuing that strategy of getting power to the last mile more effectively.
Interesting stuff. Now, but Nigeria has a new Electricity Act that paves the way for states to generate and, of course, distribute the electricity. I'm thinking, how will Transcorp be positioned to take advantage of this?
So Transcorp has 10 years experience in the generation, and now we're coming into distribution. When with the Electricity Act, it was very welcome. There are a number of things in that act beyond just the states, the empowerment of the states. So look at it this way, like I said previously, when you fix power, you fixed a lot of things. So we'll be looking at states that have the potential for economic growth and working with their governments. How do we come in? How do we partner to drive sustainable power within the region? There are a number of things. So if we have our Afam power today, we have 188 megawatts right now, but towards the end of the year, we will be at 424 megawatts. So it's a no-brainer to partner with the governments of River and say, how do we drive this? How do we make sure that we're able to engage with Port Harcourt Disco or have some sort of embedded generation in other states, even with the states where we're already operating, and invest in the infrastructure that would take the power from our generating plants straight to the end user. So there's a lot of opportunities in there. And you can see there are some states actually that had already started taking advantage of this, and we'll be working with them. And the one thing, of course, people can rest assured is that Transcorp has that pedigree, has that track record of not just creating value for the company, but creating value for stakeholders, including the communities within which we operate.
Very importantly, you mentioned two major policy changes under the new administration, which is the removal of fuel subsidy and, of course, the big one, unification of the foreign exchange. And, of course, let me say that, how would you tell us, or how has this really impacted your hospitality business? Do you think these policies will enhance domestic tourism?
The answer is yes. As we have seen of recent times, especially with the unification of the policy at the IATA level, that's the airlines, the cost of tickets have gone up highly. And if we follow using the data that we observed or we gathered during the COVID-19 restrictions, when people couldn't travel outside of the country, they looked locally. Because one thing man must do, woman must do, is that you must rest. You must take a break. And people are looking locally. Conferences are going to be looking locally to say, what do we have here? And we have seen those results looking at our occupancy in our Transcorp hotels, specifically the Transcorp Hilton Abuja, whereby during the COVID time, we're at 5%. And we took up those numbers in 2021. We came out, 2022, we finished the year with an average of 78%. And already for 2023, we're already tracking in the high 70s, close to the 80s on the occupancy level. But what do? It's not enough to just say because people cannot fly or people cannot go elsewhere, they're just stuck with you. Our strategy is to always create value. And of course, Dupe Olushola and her team, Dupe is the MD CEO of Transcorp Hotels Plc, and her team, they continue to redefine hospitality within that environment. And we are preparing actively to ensure that we have the right environment, the right atmosphere, the right equipment to be able to take on the additional demand that we'll see. One of such things, of course, is the 5,000 capacity event center that is being built currently at the Transcorp Hilton Abuja. I do invite you, because you're in Abuja, you should please stop by and see how much progress has been done. Now, this event center is going to be commissioned in Q1 of 2024. And we begin to see conferences that typically don't happen in our country to start happening within Nigeria. And of course, when you have such things, other people benefit. It's not just about Transcorp. But if I have a 5,000 capacity event center, it means that I'm going to be looking for about 3,000 hotel rooms. And these are the kind of benefits that we will get. On the other hand, I should say that not as expected, the unification has also driven the costs up. There's cost inflation in the country, but we are managing it. Like I said earlier on, we had implemented import substitution, and we have very strong operational efficiency discipline that keeps our costs within a certain profile. As you can see from the figures that we released, our revenue grew and our net profit grew by 39% at a higher rate than the revenue growth, which goes to show how we are implementing these factors.
Beautiful stuff. Now, what are your future projections and, of course, aspirations for the group?
So for the group, we will continue on the path, on that purpose, improving lives, transforming Africa. And how? Our investments in the power sector will continue to consolidate, and we continue to build upon the competence that we have already. We'll continue to look at means, especially we're going to look at going into renewable energy, as well as leveraging the existing investments that we have. Our energy space, we are on the exploration space now and going to continue to drive that, because gas is a critical input to what we do. And we'll see how we're going to produce our gas, produce the hydrocarbon to create value for the nation. And last but definitely not the least, our hospitality sector. Hospitality sector, I already mentioned the event center. We have a 677-room hotel in Abuja that is the darling of the nation, if I do say so myself, and I'm sure you agree with me. But you should also note for Lagosians that we are building our 350-room, 5-star hotel right in the heart of Ikoyi. We've made very good progress. And by next year, we intend to start the project in earnest. And of course, because we are Transcorp, we look for value. We will be exploring other sectors within the country that would indeed catalyze our development as Nigeria and Nigerians.
Interesting stuff there now, and we'll keep a tab and keep following up on all of these developments and hope to have you in to always, interpret it better for us and for Nigerians to understand what is going on. I must thank you so much, Dr. Owen Omogiafo. She is the President, Group Chief Executive Officer of Transcorp Group. Thank you so much. Do enjoy the rest of your day and have a profitable one.